Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to episode 2 of my F1 Future Stars mini-series. If you didn't catch the last one, there'll be an annotation on screen now if I remember to do it, because I've got a terrible memory sometimes. But we talked about Charles Leclerc in that one and his future prospects in Formula 1. But for this one, we're going to talk about Lando Norris. Now, I've got two camps on Lando Norris, both with very, very different opinions of the young Brit. One side say that he's the most exciting British prospect since Lewis Hamilton, whereas the other side say he's a spoilt little rich kid who gets everything he wants exactly when he wants it. Personally, I think that's really, really unfair, if I'm being honest. He's got a rich dad, so what? You know, that doesn't instantly mean he's going to be a great racing driver. You can pay for them to get into karting. You can pay for a driver to travel the world, travel the country to compete in the junior categories to make their way up to Formula 1. But you can't buy ability. You can't buy a kid ability to be a good driver. You know, okay, Pastor Maldonado won a race, but his money didn't prove he was a great driver by any means at all, did it? So for me, that argument is really, really unfair. And to be honest, I've watched a lot of online interviews in the last few weeks and seen a lot of him on track, off track, and he just seems like a very calm and down-to-earth young man and a real wise head on young shoulders. And so to me, all this spoilt little rich kid stuff just couldn't be any further from the truth. A great example is if you look at Max Verstappen, for example, he's very self-assured. He's got a massive ego because he's so, self-assured, basically. But Norris, despite the fact, he's shown in junior formula that he's got a fantastic ability and he's definitely a star of the future, but he hasn't developed that self-assured ego. Now, whether he will over the next 12 months when he gets into maybe Formula 2, for example, we might see another side to him. But for me, he doesn't exhibit that, and that's why I just think he's so down to earth. It doesn't come across in the same way, that same arrogance as Max Verstappen has, which isn't a bad thing. We want drivers to be confident, and he needs to be confident in his own ability, but at the same time, to keep a level head. And at 17 years old, 17, that's no age at all. Yeah, Max Verstappen was in F1 at that point, but 17 years old, to exhibit those kind of characteristics, that level-headedness, that mature head, I think is massively important. And it really does show that you don't just have to be a ballsy young driver who can throw it up the inside and cause an accident or anything like that. You can also have that maturity on your side. And on his overtaking, his ability for somebody so young is just so impressive. I think it's massively impressive. Young drivers are ballsy, like I was just saying, but his ability to pull off those aggressive and unlikely overtakes is definitely something we can look forward to in Formula 1 in the coming future. We'll get onto that in a moment, but his move on Leicester around the outside of Stowe and Gabalana around the outside of Abbey, both in the wet at Silverstone last year in the BRDC British F3 Championship, I think it was. They're incredible, and they were the moves, proper ballsy moves, very well executed, and they were the ones that really, really brought into my attention. I was aware of him before that, and I kind of heard a bit about him, but those were the moves when I looked at him and went, this kid's got something. This kid has got something special to be able to pull those moves off in the wet as well. And it was on the wet racing line, off the racing line on the wet, sorry. There was no dry patch for him to hit. They're just very, very impressive. Very, very impressive indeed. Also massively impressive are his career stats to date. Personally, I think they make really, really decent reading for a 17-year-old. He became the youngest ever driver to take pole position at a national event and beat Lewis Hamilton's record to become the youngest ever karting champion. So you can understand why people are instantly drawing those comparisons and calling him the most exciting British prospect since Lewis Hamilton. But his other stats are pretty impressive as well. Of course, he won the MSA Formula Championship. He also won Eurocup F Renault, the F Renault 2.0 NEC, Toyota Racing Series, and he is in the fight for the European F3 Championship this year. If you haven't watched any of it, guys, go have a look. Just look online for it, because it's a great series. It really is some great talent in there, and Lando Norris is right in that fight. What is he? He's fighting Max Gunter, isn't he? He's about 18 points off the top and 8 points clear of Joel Eriksson. Of course, that instantly means as well that he's leading the Rookies Championship standings as well. So a very impressive season this year from the young Brit, which is one of the reasons why, of course, he got his test in Hungary. And wow, did he impress. He finished day 2 of the Hungarian test in second place, just 2/10 off of Sebastian Vettel's fastest time. Okay, he used the ultra soft tyres. Sebastian Vettel was on the super softs, but a 1:17.3 splitting the two Ferraris is still massively, massively impressive. And I think he was like half a second quicker than the McLarens had gone all weekend. Again, on the ultra softs, but that still shows a real ability, and that, in a weekend or in a week, where him and Charles Leclerc properly shone, and others as well, but those two really stood out. It really was a phenomenal display from the youngster, it really was. And I am so looking forward to Lando Norris versus Charles Leclerc in the future in Formula 1. That is going to be impressive to watch and massively, massively exciting, of course. The future is definitely safe for F1 for me. And Eric Boudier, he said he's impressed with Norris's maturity and professionalism and how quickly he was able to get to grips with the McLaren, and definitely a star for the future. I completely agree. He looks so good. He may You know, when he gets into F2, we'll know in 12 months' time whether it's just something that he was good at in junior formula, or whether as he starts to make the step closer and closer to F1, whether or not he's going to continue that journey. But if testing tells us anything, which it generally doesn't, but you never know, youngsters, it tends to tell us something. He's got a very, very bright future, and hopefully will be in F1 very, very soon. But how soon? I think 2018 is probably too early for him. He will be 18 years old by then, so he'll be totally allowed to come into the sport, of course, with them raising the age limit a couple of years ago now. I guess it all hinges on what Fernando Alonso decides. If he steps down, maybe they give Lando Norris a chance, but I think partnering Lando Norris and Stoffel Van Dorn, I don't think McLaren will be entirely comfortable with that just yet. But I can imagine next year F2 and probably as reserve driver as well for McLaren, maybe 2019. Obviously, there are seats opening up at Mercedes and possibly, if the rumours are true, around Vettel's contract extension, maybe at Ferrari as well. So Alonso may move on from there. He may retire, he may bog off to IndyCar next year. Who knows? But I think 2019 is probably a more realistic target for Lando Norris to get into Formula One, unless, of course, they can secure him a seat somewhere else in the paddock. You know, Sauber would have been an option if they stuck with Honda, so that's not there now for McLaren, so it'd be difficult to see where he would fit in there. But then Lewis Hamilton was thrown straight into a competitive McLaren in 2007, so, you know, who knows? He's been called the most exciting British prospect since Lewis Hamilton, so could McLaren take that gamble again? But what do you guys think? Is Lando Norris a future F1 star, or is it all just hype because of a solid test? And could he be in F1 as early as 2018? Let me know in the comments below, guys. I will be back later in the week with another video, of course, and I want to say a massive thank you once again to Response to the latest videos on my channel, and of course to all of you that are liking and subscribing and commenting on my videos. It's fantastic to see so many of you getting involved. But as ever, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.